There's a certain romance to the idea of crossing the Atlantic. For some, it's a dream stitched together from images of London fog, countryside pubs, ancient cathedrals, and a life that moves just a little slower. For others, it's the pull of history, the thrill of a new adventure, or the promise of something their current life feels like it's missing. In recent years, more and more Americans have been making that leap, not for a vacation, not for a short-term study abroad, but to live. To swap the sprawling suburbs for cobblestone streets, the dollar for the pound, the U.S. healthcare system for the NHS, and in some cases, the 24/7 hustle for a different rhythm of life entirely. This isn't a one-size-fits-all migration. Some move for love, a British partner, a marriage across borders. Others chase career opportunities that bloom more easily in London's financial districts, the UK's creative industries, or its world-class universities. Still others are drawn to the social systems, the culture, or simply the feeling that life there might offer a new chapter worth writing. But beneath all those practical reasons lies something deeper. Moving countries is never just about jobs or healthcare or even lifestyle. It's about values. It's about the version of yourself you want to become. For many Americans heading to the UK, the choice is as much about identity as it is about location. It's about trading one cultural set of rules for another and seeing how you fit when the background changes. Of course, the UK isn't perfect. It has its own challenges, its own political tensions, cost of living issues, and cultural quirks that take getting used to. And not every American who moves stays. Some find themselves longing for the wide roads, sunny climates, and convenience of home. But for those who go and stay, there's often a common thread. The move gave them something they couldn't quite get in the US. In this video, we're going to explore 10 reasons why Americans are packing up and starting new lives in the United Kingdom. Some are practical, some are deeply personal, and a few might surprise you. Along the way, we'll look not just at the surface level differences, but at the emotional undercurrents, the way life feels when you trade one country for another. Because while statistics can tell us how many people are making the move, only stories can tell us why. And maybe as we go through these reasons, you'll start to see that this isn't just about one group of people moving to a different place. It's about the universal human search for belonging, balance, and a life that feels just right. 1. Universal healthcare and peace of mind. For many Americans, the idea of healthcare without surprise bills or medical debt feels almost unreal. In the United States, even with insurance, a simple trip to the emergency room can lead to hundreds or thousands of dollars in unexpected costs. A broken arm can mean months of repayment. A complicated birth can mean a second mortgage. Medical debt is one of the leading causes of bankruptcy in the US, and the stress that comes with it is a quiet, constant presence in many households. In the UK, the National Health Service works differently. Funded through taxes, the NHS provides healthcare to all residents without direct charges at the point of care. You can walk into a hospital, receive treatment, and leave without fearing the arrival of a bill that will follow you for years. It's not a perfect system. Wait times can be long and resources can be stretched, but it offers something priceless: peace of mind. That peace of mind isn't just about money. It's about freedom. Freedom to take risks with your career without worrying about losing insurance. Freedom to see a doctor when something feels wrong instead of putting it off because of the cost. Freedom to have children without calculating how much the delivery will drain your savings. For Americans used to tying healthcare to their jobs, the UK offers a different kind of security. Your health isn't dependent on your employment status. You don't have to cling to a job you hate just to keep your coverage. You can start a business, go back to school, or take a sabbatical without gambling with your well-being. And there's something quietly profound about living in a society where healthcare is seen as a right rather than a privilege. It shifts the way people think about community. In the US, healthcare can feel like a private battle: your illness, your bills, your problem. In the UK, it's a shared responsibility. Everyone contributes, everyone benefits. That sense of collective care can change how you see your neighbors, your government, and yourself. It's no wonder that for many Americans making the move, the NHS is more than just a service. It's a reason to stay. 2. A slower, more balanced pace of life. One of the first things many Americans notice when they move to the UK is the difference in rhythm. Life in the United States, especially in big cities, often feels like a race. Long work hours, short vacations, constant side hustles, and a culture that quietly measures worth by productivity can leave people running on empty. Even weekends are packed with errands, kids' activities, and the lingering guilt of unfinished work. In the UK, the pace isn't necessarily slow. London can move as fast as New York, but there's a different sense of balance. Paid holiday time is a legal requirement, and it's generous by American standards. Workers are entitled to at least 28 days of paid leave per year, and many employers encourage employees to actually use it. Taking 2 weeks off in the US can feel like a bold move. In the UK, it's just normal. There's also more cultural space for downtime. Pubs aren't just for drinking, they're for lingering conversations that stretch into the evening. Sundays are often quieter, with shops opening later or closing earlier, giving families a natural pause in the week. Even in cities, there's a stronger culture of walking, which means you slow down enough to actually notice the world around you. The work culture is different, too. While the UK has its share of demanding industries, there's generally more separation between work and personal life. Sending late-night emails isn't worn as a badge of honor in the same way it often is in the US. And while ambition exists on both sides of the Atlantic, the British approach tends to favor sustainability over constant hustle. For Americans who've spent years in a high-speed, high-stress environment, this shift can feel like exhaling for the first time in a long time. You realize that you can still be ambitious and successful without running yourself into the ground, and that sometimes the most productive thing you can do is close the laptop, step outside, and let the day end. 3. Rich cultural and historical depth. For many Americans, the history they see around them is relatively young. The United States is a few centuries old, and while it has its own deep and complex past, most buildings, towns, and public spaces reflect a more modern history. The UK, by contrast, is steeped in centuries, sometimes millennia of human stories, and that history is visible everywhere you go. In the UK, you can walk down a street where every building has stood for hundreds of years. You can visit cathedrals that took generations to build, stand in the ruins of Roman walls, or sit in a pub that's been serving ale since before the United States even existed. This constant presence of history isn't just something you visit, it's something you live alongside. It changes the way daily life feels. In the US, historic often means preserved, protected, and set apart, somewhere you go for a field trip or vacation. In the UK, history is woven into the everyday. You might grab coffee across from a medieval church, take a train past a Norman castle, or walk your dog on paths that people have used for centuries. Beyond the physical spaces, there's also a cultural depth rooted in tradition. National events like Trooping the Color or Remembrance Day are not just ceremonies, they're living rituals that connect past and present. The UK's literature, music, and theater have shaped the world, and experiencing Shakespeare at the Globe or a West End play in London isn't just entertainment, it's a brush with history. For Americans, this can be intoxicating. It offers a constant reminder that life is part of a much bigger story, that the walls around you have seen generations come and go. And while modern Britain is dynamic and forward-looking, it carries its past like a well-loved book, one that's still being written page by page. 4. Walkable cities and better public transport. In much of the United States, life is built around the car. Wide highways, sprawling suburbs, and big-box shopping centers often make driving the only realistic way to get anywhere. Public transport exists in some cities, but outside of a few major hubs like New York or Chicago, it's often limited, unreliable, or inconvenient. The UK offers a very different experience. Many towns and cities are designed on a human scale, with compact centers where you can walk to shops, restaurants, and cultural sites without ever getting in a car. Streets are narrower, neighborhoods are denser, and mixed-use areas mean your daily needs are often just minutes away on foot. Then there's the public transport. While it has its quirks and occasional delays, the UK's rail and bus systems make it possible to travel easily without a car. Trains connect cities across the country, and local buses reach even small towns. The London Underground, trams in places like Manchester, and ferries in coastal regions offer a range of ways to get around. For Americans used to the high cost and stress of car ownership, insurance, fuel, parking, repairs, being able to rely on public transport can feel liberating. Walking and using public transport also changes the pace and feel of life. You see more of your surroundings, you interact with people. You're part of the daily rhythm of the city instead of isolated behind a steering wheel. And for many, that shift leads to healthier habits, more social encounters, and even a deeper sense of connection to the community. For Americans making the move, this walkability isn't just a convenience, it's a lifestyle change. It means less time in traffic, less money spent on transportation, and more freedom to explore without the constant anchor of a parked car waiting for you. 5. More affordable higher education. For many Americans, the cost of a college degree is a lifelong burden. Tuition fees in the US can easily climb into the tens of thousands of dollars per year, and student loan debt now totals over $1 trillion nationwide. It's not uncommon for graduates to spend decades paying off their education, delaying milestones like buying a home, starting a family, or even taking career risks. The UK offers a different picture. While university is not free, tuition fees are significantly lower than many private and even public universities in the United States. For domestic and eligible international students, annual fees are capped, often around $9,250 a year, compared to the $30,000, $50,000 many Americans face. Postgraduate programs can also be shorter and more affordable, meaning you spend less time in school and more time earning. There's also a difference in how student loans work. In the UK, repayment is tied to your income, and if you earn below a certain threshold, you don't pay at all. After a set number of years, any remaining balance is forgiven. This approach reduces the pressure to choose a safe but uninspiring career just to cover debt. For Americans looking to advance their education or for families considering their children's futures, this can be a major draw. It's not just about paying less, it's about starting life after graduation without a financial anchor around your ankle. Beyond the cost, there's the experience itself. UK universities often have smaller, more focused degree programs, allowing students to dive deeply into their chosen subject from the start, rather than spending years on general education requirements. For those who already know their path, this can be a more efficient and fulfilling way to learn. For many Americans who've lived under the shadow of rising tuition costs, the UK's system represents not just affordability, but freedom. The freedom to learn without the fear of financial ruin. 6. Proximity to Europe and ease of travel. In the United States, international travel often means long flights and big expenses. If you live in New York, a trip to Europe might take 7 hours. If you're in Los Angeles, it's closer to 11. For most Americans, the cost, time, and planning required to travel abroad make it something rare. Maybe once a year, maybe once in a lifetime. Living in the UK changes that completely. Europe is right next door. A short flight can take you to Paris in under 2 hours, Amsterdam in just over an hour, or Barcelona in about 2.5. Trains like the Eurostar whisk you from London to the heart of continental Europe in the time it takes to watch a movie. Budget airlines offer tickets so cheap they sometimes cost less than a nice dinner out. This proximity opens up a whole new way of living. Weekend trips become realistic. You can spend a few days exploring the streets of Rome, hiking in the Swiss Alps, or relaxing on a Greek island without needing weeks of vacation time. For Americans used to saving and planning for months just across the ocean, this ease of travel feels almost magical. It's not just about leisure either. For those in international careers, being in the UK means being a short journey away from major business hubs across Europe. Conferences, meetings, and collaborations become more accessible, and the world feels smaller and more connected. And there's something deeply enriching about this closeness to so many different cultures. Each trip broadens your perspective, adds new flavors to your life, and deepens your understanding of the world. For Americans who've grown up far from other countries, it's like stepping into a living atlas where history, art, and culture are all within arm's reach. 7. Stronger social safety nets. In the United States, much of your security depends on your individual circumstances, your job, your savings, your insurance plan, your family's resources. If you lose your job, get sick, or face a sudden crisis, the safety net can feel thin, and falling through the gaps is a real risk. The UK takes a different approach. While it's not without its challenges, the country maintains a stronger system of social protections designed to catch people before they hit rock bottom. This includes not only universal health care through the NHS, but also unemployment benefits, housing assistance, child benefits, and pension schemes that help support people through different stages of life. For many Americans, this shift in mindset is as important as the support itself. In the US, needing help can carry stigma, and the system often feels difficult to navigate. In the UK, while pride and independence still matter, there's a more established understanding that government support is part of the social contract. You contribute through taxes, and in return, there's help available when you need it. This doesn't mean life in the UK is without financial pressure. The cost of living in cities like London can be high, and the benefit system isn't perfect. But for Americans used to a system where one emergency can spiral into long-term instability, the existence of these safety nets provides a profound sense of relief. It also shapes the way people live their day-to-day lives. Knowing you won't be bankrupted by illness, that there's help if you lose your job, or that retirement won't leave you destitute changes your risk tolerance. It allows you to take chances, starting a business, going back to school, or pursuing a career shift, because you're not always one step away from disaster. For many Americans moving to the UK, these social protections are part of what makes the country feel not just like a place to live, but a place to build a future. 8. The appeal of British culture and lifestyle. For many Americans, British culture carries a certain charm, part familiarity, part novelty. On the surface, the shared language makes the UK feel accessible, but living there reveals layers of difference that make daily life feel refreshingly new. There's the pub culture, for example, which is about far more than pints of beer. Pubs are community living rooms where people gather to talk, relax, and enjoy a slower pace. They're as much about connection as they are about the drink in your hand. Sunday roasts with friends or family, complete with Yorkshire pudding, become a ritual. Afternoon tea offers a pause in the day, a quiet celebration of comfort. Then there's the humor, dry, witty, often self-deprecating. British humor can be an adjustment for Americans, but once you get it, you find yourself enjoying the subtlety, the clever wordplay, and the shared laughter that comes from understatement rather than exaggeration. Cultural life thrives too. The UK has a deep tradition in literature, theater, and music that's woven into its identity. You can spend a weekend exploring Shakespeare's birthplace, catch a West End show, or attend a small gig in a local venue that might launch the next big band. Museums, many of them free, offer access to art, history, and science without the hefty admission fees often seen in the US. Even the everyday rhythm feels different. There's more emphasis on conversation over rushing, more value placed on enjoying where you are rather than always chasing the next milestone. For Americans who've lived in a culture of constant motion, this shift can feel like discovering a new gear, one that lets you live more fully in the present. Of course, no culture is perfect. There are adjustments, misunderstandings, and moments of homesickness. But for many Americans, the British way of life offers a blend of tradition, charm, and quiet pleasure that's worth crossing an ocean for. 9. Escaping political and cultural divisions in the U.S. Over the past decade, the United States has felt increasingly divided, not just politically, but culturally. Many Americans feel as though they're living in a constant state of tension, where conversations can quickly turn into arguments, and the social climate feels charged with conflict. Social media amplifies these divides, creating echo chambers where people only hear voices that confirm what they already believe. For some, moving to the UK offers a kind of emotional relief. It's not that the UK is free from political disagreements or cultural debates, it's not. But the tone can feel different. The issues are shaped by different histories, different systems, and different social priorities. Being outside the American media bubble allows people to breathe, to engage with political life without feeling consumed by it. For others, the move is about wanting a fresh start, a place where they aren't constantly reminded of the same polarizing battles. The shift in perspective can be freeing. In the UK, you might still follow American news, but you're no longer surrounded by it in every conversation, every billboard, every news alert on your phone. This distance can also lead to personal growth. When you're away from your own country's culture wars, you start to see them differently. You can evaluate them with more objectivity and sometimes with more compassion. You may even discover that the rest of the world isn't as obsessed with America's internal conflicts as it sometimes feels back home. Of course, the UK has its own divisions: Brexit, debates over immigration, and regional tensions among them. But to many Americans, these feel less personal, less emotionally loaded. And that difference in emotional weight can be a powerful reason to stay. 13. Love and family ties. For all the practical, political, and lifestyle reasons Americans move to the UK, one of the most timeless and personal is love. Sometimes it's as simple as meeting someone on a trip, falling in love, and deciding that the relationship is worth crossing an ocean for. Other times it's a marriage that began while one partner was studying or working abroad. Love has always been one of the strongest forces pulling people from one country to another, and it's no different here. Family can be just as powerful a reason. For some Americans, the move is about reuniting with relatives, parents, siblings, or children who already live in the UK. For others, it's about building a family in a place where they feel supported, whether that means access to healthcare, good schools, or a safer environment to raise kids. Love and family also bring a different kind of commitment to the move. When your reason for being in a new country is deeply personal, you're more willing to weather the challenges, whether it's the damp winters, the differences in bureaucracy, or the cultural adjustments. You adapt not just because you want to, but because the people you love are worth it. And there's something special about sharing a life that bridges two cultures. Children grow up with dual perspectives, learning to navigate and appreciate both American and British traditions. Couples blend holidays, food, and family customs into something entirely their own. Life becomes richer, layered with experiences and identities from both sides of the Atlantic. In the end, love and family remind us that while practical benefits matter, the heart often has the final say. You can weigh the cost of living, the job market, the healthcare system, but when it comes to deciding where you'll build your life, the people you want by your side can outweigh everything else. When you step back and look at these 10 reasons, it's clear that moving from the US to the UK is rarely just about geography. Yes, there are practical advantages: universal healthcare, more affordable education, public transport, and social safety nets. Yes, there are lifestyle perks: walkable cities, proximity to Europe, a slower pace of life. And yes, there are deeply personal pulls: love, family, the search for a culture that feels more in tune with your values. But underneath it all, these moves are about something much bigger: the desire to shape a life that feels right. We all live within systems, economic, cultural, political, that influence how we think, work, and dream. In the United States, those systems bring incredible opportunities, but they also come with pressures. For some, those pressures feel like a constant background noise, hard to ignore, harder to escape. The decision to move to the UK is often about quieting that noise and seeing what life feels like when the rules are different. It's about asking yourself, what do I really want my days to look like? How do I want to feel when I wake up in the morning? What kind of society do I want to be part of? For the Americans who make the move, the UK offers a new set of answers. Healthcare isn't tied to employment. Education doesn't demand a lifetime of debt. Cities are built for people, not just cars. Cultural life is rich, history is all around you, and Europe is only a short trip away. There's space, sometimes literally, sometimes emotionally, to slow down, reflect, and live in a way that feels more balanced. Of course, the move isn't a magic fix. The UK has its own challenges: rising living costs, political debates, and social tensions. No place is perfect, and no move erases the realities of life. But for many, the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. The trade-offs make sense, and the new life they build offers not just different scenery, but a different state of mind. In the end, this isn't a story about leaving America behind. It's a story about choosing what works best for you, about finding a place where your values, your lifestyle, and your dreams align a little more closely. And that, perhaps, is the real thread connecting all 10 reasons. The courage to go where your life feels most like your own. Because when you strip away the logistics of visas, jobs, and moving boxes, what's left is the simple truth that home isn't just where you were born. Home is where you feel most alive.